I've been cold for so long. One touch and we're igniting, setting fire to it all. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think that we can stop it now, 'cause baby our love is gonna burn it down. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think I wanna stop it now, 'cause baby our love is gonna burn it down. One spark, I feel lightning blazing up through the darkest night. Hold your breath, babe, the smoke is burning. Now kiss me now, and we'll be alright. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think that we can stop it now, 'cause baby our love is gonna burn it down. You know these flames ain't going out. This building is crumbling to the ground. Don't think I wanna stop it now, 'cause baby our love is gonna burn it down.
They say you're only young once, but we live for it, we die for it, we live for forever. They say you're only young once, but we live for it, we live for it, we live for forever. I'll meet you at the hideout, where we can dream again. I'll tell you all my secrets. We're encouraged like a second skin. The kids are all dying. We're dying to believe again. Run through the open streets. We take what is needed. They say you're only young once, but we live for it, we die for it, we live for forever.
is do or die. Feel it in my veins tonight. Emotional suicide. You know it's a knife for eye. I didn't wanna walk the plank. But the Mariona, it came like the thunder. I was on my way to going under. Swimming in the banya, I was covered in a tidal wave, But I'm a fighter. Try to take me down, I'm going higher. Maybe you've been playing with some fire. You've been playing with fire. One day you will see what you made of me. Found my inner peace. You are chillies in the dead of night. In the dead of night.
Hello, 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 and welcome to yet another stream of Boomeadow Builds the State of Anarchy. We are hopefully going to finish the world maps tonight. Fingers crossed, we shall see. Over the last few months, we have managed to build up Fairweir, otherwise known as the Feywilds, and Thalamir, the material plane, and we have been working on Nethraeg, which is the hells of my world. Now, for those who do not know what we are doing here, I am a Dungeons and Dragons game master who is building a custom world for my players that I am going to stream here on my Twitch channel come February next year. So yes, this is what we have been building, and we are building up this last patch of the hells. You can probably notice that the land masses are all similar. Now, I don't know, Edwin. I may, if people are interested in my world setting, it is something that I had considered potentially putting onto a Patreon or something. You know, there is a lot of custom world lore that goes with it. So, and of course, you know, if people are interested in running a world in it, why not, you know? So I am currently in the process of looking for players for this game. So there is actually an application up over on Roll20. My username over there is exactly the same as it is pretty much everywhere else, Boomeadow, and it's even called, very charmingly for you, State of Anarchy, so you can find it. So if you are interested, head on over and have a look at the application. But of course, if you have any questions at all, this is the place, this is the time. Or you can head over to my, if I'm not streaming live or whatever, you can head over to my Twitter, which is Boomeadow, and leave a question there for me. Or, heaven forbid, you can also find my YouTube channel, also of the same name, Boomeadow, and leave a comment on any of the videos and I will see it and hopefully be able to answer any of your burning, desperate questions, or make a list of questions to actually answer during my streams. So I feel like at this point, a lot of you have already been here. You've already heard this, the shtick, the spiel, that kind of thing. But if there is anything you want to know, please don't hesitate to ask. So yes, we are in the process of building the world maps. For those who want to know about the application, the size of the game, despite what the actual application on Roll20 says, it will be between 5 and 6 players. Not more than that. Definitely not. Any more than that, and that's more chaos than even I can handle. Also, if you would like to see a town named in any of these circles, so these are the circles of hell, there is actually a capability to do it, that if you save up your channel points, you can actually name... Yeah, Tyrant Dungeon. 8 players, man. I must admit, I think I've only ever tried that many once. And yeah, no, I think 5 to 6 is my sweet spot. The problem, of course, that I have had recently is I've, at least for the players that I already have for the game, at the moment we currently have, I believe, 4 players in the game that I know of, confirmed. But the problem is I have just released to them the playable species for the game. Hi, Bandit King UK. How are you? Welcome. You are very welcome to join us for a bit of a chat and all that kind of stuff about D&D. Very cold. Yeah, I imagine it is probably pretty cold in the UK. Here in Australia, we are not nearly as cold, as hot as we can get yet. But the weather's trying. How are you this evening, though? I hope that your D&D games are going well, wherever you are. Are you a player or a DM or both? Always interested to see the kind of spread of players versus DMs that watch my channel. Ooh. Oof. Yeah, no, that sounds unpleasant. Primarily tends to be the way, doesn't it? I am at least in a nice sweet spot at the moment where I am getting to be a player, although not a lot of D&D is being played. Over on a friend of the channel, Evil One, over on their channel, we play a couple of different things. Yeah, I enjoy telling the stories. Over on Evil One's channel, we play Power Rangers, we play Star Wars. We're also planning on doing Vampire the Masquerade during this year. So that's where I generally get to play a lot of my games. Otherwise, I am a DM, and I do love DMing. I really do. Afraid of yourself? Why? Oh yeah, no, completely understand that. It is the one thing that while I am thoroughly enjoying the custom world building process, however, because I'm sharing it with people, yeah, the problem is the current people I have in the game, and also the fact that I'm actually going to be presenting this game to a wider audience, actually having to put it all down in a kind of linear pattern that's not just in my head. For the most part, you're mostly seeing the start of my process to a certain degree. The difficult part with this is the 4th era that I'm actually running in this world. Yeah, but Tyrant Dungeon, your sleep patterns are crazy anyway, I feel like. But yeah, no, having to put it in a linear pattern. Exactly, Bandit King. And yeah, I'm actually looking forward to playing Vampire the Masquerade because it's a system we haven't tried before. Evil One has actually been a long-time DM for a very, very long time in the D&D system. And just got to a point of burnout for him of just D&D. Also, as we discovered, moving online, the dynamic of online play to real world play is it's a very different kettle of fish. Art Deco Prohibition. That's cool. Yes. See, then you, Bandit King, you will love the concept of this game. So this game, the world itself is 6 years in the making. When I started this campaign, it would have been set in what is now within this world the second era. I have had campaigns. Then we had a campaign set in the third era. I'm currently running a game in the first era of in the first era of the world, and this particular campaign setting will actually take place in the fourth. And this particular one, I am very much challenging myself, because this one very much is running into the situation of, well, the world is technologically advanced. So what does that mean? Through the machinations of the game and what the players have previously done in the world, because it hasn't been the same players throughout all the games, but the players' actions have influenced the game and the world, and so the current styles for each of the particular worlds that I've been building, yes, we're going to have magic revolvers, but we're actually ahead of revolvers now in the fourth era. So it is going to be a very sci-fi-esque. The start of the campaign itself is actually taking place in what the Feywild has become known as, which is Feoir. Then we've got the material plane, which is called Anthalamir. And then this is the thing we're working on, right? The map we're building right now is actually for the Hells, which is called Nethraeg. And in terms of their style, Feoir is a biotech. Wait, no, I've got that wrong. Feoir is kind of steampunk. Then Anthalamir, so the material plane, is biopunk. And then the Hells, Nethraeg, is post-cyberpunk. So it is a bit older. People can actually live in the Hells because of the actions of the game, like the course of the game and what has happened. So I am having to basically... there is a lot of flavor texting happening on the weapons and things like this available. But there are some things that I just obviously can't get around. Like, while I can put in all number of composite bows and things like this, the reality is they're not going to use longbow, shortbow, that kind of thing. Not inherently. And also flavor texting a whole heap of composite kind of weapons because, for example, within my lore and mythos, the Fae can't work with iron, and because they can't work with iron, they choose not to deal in steel, because steel is a composite of iron. And so, armor and things like this are going to be composite armors, and a lot of that is just flavor text. But we're also going to have the capability of light-based weapons, I guess. So yes, we will see the rise of, for lack of a better definition, the lightsaber and things like this. So, which of course, when I set out on this endeavor to build this particular world, I did what any good person would do, and I Googled D&D setting, sci-fi D&D setting. And obviously it came up with Spelljammer and things like this, but that wasn't quite what I was looking for. And Reddit basically turned around and said, don't. There are much better systems. And I agree. There are wonderful systems that you could do what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, exactly. But we've got things like vibro blades. I believe daggers are going to essentially become tasers. What you would expect the comparative technological growth to be, basically. But also because of that, we are also going to see the rise of very specified races. So basically this world takes place after an event known as the Merge. And this is following the events of the previous campaign, in which an eldritch entity, an eldritch titan, basically used the Necronomicon as a way to try and be freed from his prison in Tartarus, to basically take over his place in the world and let chaos reign. Oh yeah, there is going to be that aspect, and that was one thing I did have to consider. That the fact is, some species and races and things like this, like especially within the Fae, they're going to be fast enough to wield like composite bows and things like this. So if they want to use bows and arrows, I also wanted to leave martial weapons in there, because sometimes magic doesn't work. The fact is, with the rise of magical or arcana tech, there's going to be the rise in anti-magic fields and things like that to counteract them. So there are still going to be people who basically rely on the old weapons because they're reliable, you know. And also for ceremonial reasons, like there are still going to be clerics and paladins and stuff who very much tie their honor and their utilization to the weapons that they are tied to. And I am one of those DMs that I still use ability score modifiers as well, but I know that some people, that really matters to some people, to be able to build the character they want. And honestly, I want my players to build the coolest, most batshit insane character that they want to create, within reason, of course. And so, because there are 3 planes of existence all simultaneously existing within the same planar space, there is the possibility, well, there is essentially cultural diversity already in place. So, for example, I'm not allowing variant human as a choice, but there's a very good reason for this. It's because within the world, so we have Nethraeg, we have Enthalemir, we have Feawir, which means that I have different stats for each type of human from each of these areas. So, and you know, and then the onus is on the player to be like I don't care if you want to be a human from hell, go for it. But what I want to know is exactly why your character, well, how your character left hell, why they left hell, why they're now in the Feywild, what they're looking for, you know, their element of them creating their character, basically. So, yeah, exactly. A Tyrant is actually one of the players in this game, and I've almost finished the playable species list for Nethraeg, which is the final one I've got to do. But it's not just, but because of this, I'm not just doing standard species either. Oh, thank you for the follow, Bandit King. Yeah, no, so for a good example is there are also a lot of custom and homebrewed classes that and race and species, should I say, that I've actually also included. So, for example, you want to play a sentient gummy bear? You can do so in my world, because I have basically found stats for a sentient gummy bear, a sentient gummy race, and I have, in the documents that I'm doing for each of, like for the players with the playable species, I am actually putting in notices where I found it. So if they want to use it for their games and things like this, they can go look at it. Or if they want to see, because I have written some things like from Volo's Guide to Monsters with modifications. For some of it, the modifications are literally just I've added ability score modifiers, because I believe that there are racial differences. I say racial, but it's more species differences between each of the species that you can play. I've added, for example, a dog race. I've added like a Fey. It started out as a joke as the Fey Corgis, which is a run over from my Tuesday campaign. But now the Fey Corgis have become a race, but not just Corgis. There's, you know, you can be a Doberman style dog. Elves are different in every planar scape. So if you're like an elf from hell, you're a ghost elf, because the fact is what the hells are within my world is also different. It's a place where the living and the dead can mingle, kind of thing, within reason. But yes, the demons and the devils are there. It is still a terrible place, but yeah, hell, I like that. But yeah, it's a place basically of all the lawful planes in my three main material planar space area. So Nethraeg and Thalamir and Feaware. Somehow Nethraeg / the Hells has become the most lawful because of the nature of what has happened. So yeah, it is one of the biggest things that I enjoy about world building is, I'm pretty sure as well, while I talk about this, I'm pretty sure, I do have a world lore emoji. Lore dump, yeah. I will. Hey, I like talking about my world because it's one of the easiest and best ways that I actually am able to build, basically. I like talking about it because it gives me ideas. It gives me ideas. It lets me flesh out ideas because I have such a squirrel brain, the way that I actually design my worlds and stuff like this. Because the way that I tend to, if I do tend to write stuff down, basically I have a question. So I start writing the world lore behind that. So for example, you know, I had this question about like, oh, you know, what has happened to magic now following the events of this particular event? And then I'm like, oh, okay, yep, so this is what happened to magic, but why did that happen? And what is likely to happen next? And so this is what led me to basically creating fantasy quantum metaphysics in my world. Finding out and looking into and investigating what are the core theoretical principles that make up all the elements in my universe, which is, I will point out, sheer insanity. So yeah. And if you're interested, there are 9 core theoretical principles, basically. No, that's actually very, very common, Bandit King. It's one of the reasons why generally, like I understand some people really, really enjoy creating new characters and things, but it is one of the reasons why I do generally heavily recommend players not, especially new players, try not to create a new character while you're unless, you know, you're playing in multiple games. But if you're only playing in one game, I do say to new players, like, yeah, if you enjoy making characters, that's absolutely fine, but be aware it may end up making you care less about your current character because you're so excited for a new one. And it is exactly the same with campaigns. You put, you know, so much time and effort and work into a new campaign, and you're just really excited to see it come to life. So it all depends as well, I think, a little bit on your actual planning style as well. I do tend to have I have essentially over time developed a very loose planning method, for better or worse. But it has meant, obviously, that, you know, I only really create what the players interact with. Oh, yeah, and if it's something that you really, really love, as you just pointed out, like, you've always loved the noir aesthetics and things like that, so, yeah, of course it's going to call to you more because it's what you like, you know, looking into. It is one of the reasons why the deities and all of that kind of stuff within and the mythos behind my world is so invested, because I love researching mythology, and I find, you know, mythology and that kind of stuff really, really interesting. basically you have to like what you write as well. Because there is no point trying to write something that you don't enjoy. And trust me, I am aware that most of my players won't ever see any of the world lore that I'm creating. It's one of the reasons why I have this channel, so I can talk about it with people who also enjoy world building because they get it. Now, if you are also wondering what program I am using to build this map on, this is Incarnate. It is a browser-based map builder. It does have a free subscription, but I obviously I think it might be a yearly subscription of like $10 or $12 or something. That gets you a pro subscription, which gets you all these additional tokens, as you'll see in a minute as I'm building. So oh yeah, trust me, what DM doesn't like it when a player goes, yeah, but I want to know, you know? And one of the things that I enjoy getting to do basically is, because obviously all of my games are now set within a core world, is the players actually get to see the effects of their actions. The players who continue on and things like this, they get to see the effects of their actions. They get to also figure out what had happened to their characters after the end of the campaign and things like this, or even like because I do tend to write big world kind of stories where they have to save the world and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I would love to say that there are games and sports in my world. There probably are. They haven't been interacted with, so I've never really ended up having to build them. Which, it's not a bad idea though. Potentially having a sport. I mean, a big part of it as well is I'm not particularly sporting inclined, so I don't tend to lean towards that, but it'd also be cool to put a sport in for the players to, like, invest in. Oh, see, that's cool. See, I never thought about that aspect. And it's a cool concept to bring into the game too, to add cultural diversity. Because different regions would play the game differently as well. Do some more naming in a second, but I should probably save. Kabaddi. Oh, tell me, what's Kabaddi? Because I don't know what that is. And it sounds interesting. Incoherent. You can't say that and then not explain what it is. And if you're wondering about some of these names, by the way, this is a circle of listener, so the circle of lust. Oh, see, that sounds cool. See, that sounds cool. Ah. See, that sounds really, really cool. See, I wouldn't even know where to start, like from an etymology of figuring out how to write a sport.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way. Birds chirping and I hear my name, grasping into life is
Well,
so insane.
the question is, it would have to start at a specific point. So, as in, well, a lot of them are ball sports. So the question is, well, first of all, what is the objective? And then you can start questioning, I guess, what shape of the ball and what purpose would that have? Yeah, exactly.
Night is gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Kids across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah,
Yeah, I must admit, I have every now and then tuned into marble racing.
Savannah. Let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home.
Which, when the Marble Olympics were on, chef kiss, so well done. The Marble Olympics, yes. Look, It was amazing. You should definitely look it up. It was so cool. There was so much time, effort, funding behind it.
I need a scarecrow after what you did. 'Cause all of the birds know that I'm
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. My friends and I got really into it. We had like teams picked out that we were like 100% behind. We were disappointed when, our teams didn't get through to the finals or whatever. And it consumed us for like the good, I think 2 weeks it was on or whatever. I'm sure there probably is. Well, it would stand to reason there is probably battle bots or something like that. Especially since it's not, I mean, I'm not going to say making Disney as mainstream, but Big Hero 6 had the battle bots in them. So it would stand to reason that somebody did something similar, especially in a world, if you've got Warforged and things like that, it would make perfect sense that it exists. I mean, the god of balance in my world is a total tranquility monk wild soul barbarian he's the god of balance, but he's also the patron saint of cage fighting. And I will admit, that was not even originally my idea, because the Turtle Monk was a player character. See, it's interesting you say that, Edwin, because one of the big things that's going to be actually explored in this particular version of the game for me is the fact that to gain potential power to reverse the damage of what has happened, there is this concept that you have to be worthy to wield these metaphysical principles. However, worthiness is not dictated by good or evil, because that's such basically a idealized concept that you have to be good to wield power, because if that was the case, then evil people wouldn't come to power. So, for example, one of the elements, the metaphysical elements, is essentially straight up creation. Well, there has to be rules on that, because what denotes what would essentially be creation? Well, one of the rules is it cannot destroy anything to create something. Also, just because you create something doesn't mean you have control over it. So it is literally the power to bring anything to light, into being, basically, as long as you're not destroying something to do so. because then you're walking that fine line of destruction. However, to be worthy of wielding it is a different story. To be worthy of wielding destruction, for example, creation, for example. Hello, Valexion. To be worthy of wielding creation, all you have to do is have an imagination. If you can dream it, then you can create it, basically. However, that also means that, you know, there have to be limitations on how you can create it, what you can create. So, for example, you know, if you create life, you have to be held accountable for the life you have created, you know. And so it is not necessarily a complex morality thing, because again, that would denote whether you're good or evil. But there are what is to stop basically, you know, an evil person wielding creation just reanimating a whole heap of dead? Well, that's not life. That's not true life. It's reanimation. It's something different altogether. You know, it is the essence of creation, is the essence of absolute creation. Well, yeah, I don't. What is that hellscape that you have mentioned? Kiwi. Although, hear me out. It's not as crazy as you would imagine. The only thing I would wonder about Kiwi is if it's got not enough fiber to hold it together. But then again, I suppose you can make dehydrated kiwi. I mean, it's not such a crazy idea. I have heard of like kiwi sauces and things like this being made to serve with chicken and stuff. It's not a crazy thought. Oh yeah, poor Roger. For those who don't know, I play in a Star Wars game over on Evil One's channel with Tyrant. And Tyrant is currently playing a battle droid named Roger. And he has been through a time. He is a poor traumatized boy at this point. My character is kind of trying to help him. Welcome back, Bandit King. Yeah, he's been through a time. Yes, my character is trying to help Roger, but I don't know how well received it's being because my character is a Jawa who has a droid obsession. This is the Circles of Hell within my campaign. And the reason it has such a kind of whacked out look to it is, okay, so if we go back, and you know what, so this is just 1/4 of the map. I'll give you a bit of context. That's what it looks like in its entirety at the moment. These are the 9 circles of hell. And hopefully what has been achieved is a tiered effect as you go down through the layers. So on the most outer ring, we have Purgatory. The orange layer is Lisnair, or the Circle of Lust. Pink is the Circle of Gluttony, or Nemesis. Then we have... yeah, basically, yeah, that is true, Edwin. Then we have the Circle of Greed, which is yellow, and that is Geri Haksha. We have... now this is where I tend to get it wrong. We have the white one there, which is the Circle of Wrath, or Junpilka. Next one down, which is the quite black, messy looking one, that is Dicta, the Circle of Sloth. I mean, it was not something I considered, but it could make sense. The green is obviously Envy, Gezamog. We have Kalvamas, which is the very tiny kind of whitish dark one right in the almost center, and that is Pride. And then right in the very center, the blackest of black, the tiniest of all, is Treachery. And that has, hello Gregor's man. Yes, so the Circle of Treachery is where the broken gates of Tartarus lie. It was broken during the act of the previous campaign when the Titan King tried to rise. He had been in prison since before the first era of the world for trying to overthrow the Eldritch head god, basically. And when it failed to work... Oh no, what did you just imagine? I'm worried now. For your little guy, not your cat one. I'm a little sad that you don't want to necessarily play your hairless tabaxi wizard named Professor Smells. Gotta say it, yes. You want to play himbo, and that is absolutely fine. You play your best himbo boy. You do what you want to do. Just remember, you've got to play. Just remember, you either have to, if you're going to play that kind of character, you are going to have to flirt with either me or the other players. We love a good himbo. We love a good himbo. As long as, you know, there are certain levels of himbo-ness that I kind of get concerned about. He's an old boomer. Oh, that's bad, isn't it? He doesn't understand the tech. Hey, it is entirely possible. Don't like that there. See, I don't usually have to impose a sanity meter because my player characters legitimately try to overthink everything. The current campaign I'm running on the Tuesday nights, it's hilarious. They're like, we want more combat. And I'm like, I understand and appreciate what you want, and I'm willing to give it to you. In fact, I have tried to give it to you. They legitimately keep talking themselves out of combat. That's not entirely true. Your last character didn't really, like, Nemo/Elpheus didn't really get sad easily. He was just deeply complex. And you make so many good, happy lads that become sad boys. I hate to say this, Tyrant. Maybe that's something that you should be questioning. deeper intrinsic problems. I'm a big believer. Yeah, no, I'm a big believer that D&D is a really good way for you to learn about yourself. At the same time, if you are treating your D&D sessions like therapy, then that's something you need to look into, because unfortunately / fortunately, most DMs are not equipped to helping people unpack their emotional trauma and baggage. We're just general people. Like, I don't have any degrees in psychology or anything like this. I end up having my own problems as well, because we're grown adults in a world that isn't particularly favourable or kind to us. And so, you know, a group of people that get together to play D&D, it's a form of escapism, and that is absolutely 100% a-okay. But I do kind of have this one rule where if it ever gets to a point where you cannot separate yourself from your character and you start taking it out on people in game, and this is even for myself, because I do get very invested in my player characters, and the characters that I do play, you know, which has led me to have to question and look at a few things that, you know, I've decided to do as a character and things like this as well. But I very much have a rule set that the minute you start not being able to separate yourself from your character, and it becomes a problem, and if my game or, you know, is actually starting to affect you that badly, you know, I will actually talk to you about perhaps just taking a bit of a break, because at the end of the day, D&D is just a game. It should not be causing you anxiety and stress. Well, not in the way that, you know, like, story building and things like that is one thing, but if you're dreading coming to session every week because you just don't know how you're going to do it, because you don't want to, you know, unpack whatever your character is going through, that's a problem. Yeah, I'm the same, Tyrant. I take my RP very seriously. I love RP. I love storytelling. And yeah, I do the same thing. And because I'm such an overthinker, a lot of my characters that I end up playing end up coming across as a bit know-it-all-y, a bit obnoxious, because, you know, they can be very naysayer, as in they will... Unfortunately, I can't turn the DM brain off, and things like this. So, you know, all of a sudden I have this character that's, you know, just wanting to protect everyone, but really, really bad at telling them, you know, like helping them come up with a plan or an idea, because all they can see is the negatives involved in it. They can't, you know, they can tell you exactly why every plan would fail, but if you're requiring them to come up with an idea to help, yeah, I've really struggled with that too. But yes, I do have that rule set that, you know, if it ever gets to a point where my D&D games are causing you issues for stress and anxiety or whatever, then maybe it's not the game for you. And I don't mean that in a really mean, horrible way, like because I don't want you there as a player or anything. But no game is worth your mental well-being, your physical health, your peace of mind. You know, and the reality is, I'm not a licensed therapist. I am not qualified to help you through your problems. I mean, that being said, like, I do have some players who are legitimately licensed psychologists, but this is also their downtime. Yeah, and that's exactly it. That was actually, I was about to say that, Tyrant, because that was actually something that this particular player had looked into when he was studying his thesis, about the fact that he really wants to look into the avenues of role-playing games and things like this as certain forms of therapy, as they pointed out, not every situation is going to be able to be dealt with in such a way, but they can really help. And of course, if it ties together through of his loves and passions, like playing tabletop games and stuff, why not try it? You know? No problems, Tyrant. You lurk away. I think psychologists are, at least in Australia, I can't say where you are, but psychologists are the ones who will help you talk through things and that kind of thing, whereas psychiatrists are the ones who can diagnose meds. Yeah. And you know what? Both have equal place. But the key outlier of the actual story, vaguely, that I was kind of going along with is enjoy my D&D games as much as you want. But if it ends up becoming a problem, not just for me, not just for the player in question, because the reality is for a lot of people, D&D is just something fun you do to unwind, and having to come and deal every week with somebody who is unable. And that being said, I will point this out, there are some situations that you cannot expect, i.e. I do know a guy who, while he's an arachnophobic, didn't realize how bad it was until they were playing a game one day and a spider token had come up, and he's like, I couldn't even look at the screen. So this is why me and a couple friends who have been involved in this now, when we have a spider, regardless of whether we have arachnophobes or not in our game, we tend to put pictures of Kermits and like Kermit the Frog and things like this, just something else, because you may not know something was a problem until confronted with it, and that's okay too. Like turning around and saying, hey, I just need to step away from the table for a bit, just for a breather, that is absolutely okay. I've always kind of run on the principle that I don't care if it's 5 minutes before game. If you can't make it for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter what the reason is, you don't even have to give me a reason. Just let me know. Even if it's like a minute before game, going, hey, I'm just really not going to make it today. That's okay. Just as long as you let me know. That's all I require, basically. And most of it's purely just because, it is hard to organise a game if players aren't able to be there. And, I do have a general rule that if half of the party's not there, I generally won't run. Just because yeah, I flat out do not Jaeger people's characters for them, because I'm not going to be responsible if your character dies when you're not there, you know, and like, it is up to you if you're comfortable with another player Jaegering your character. That's fine if you ask them to, but yeah, no, I'm not going to do it for you as the DM, or I try not to anyway. Just because, yeah, it's your character, and I might be the DM and I might have all these back. Oh, yeah, it is absolutely fine. Yeah, that's exactly it. It is one thing to be invested in the game to be sad at a character death, and it is a-okay to be sad at a character death. But, for example, if it has led you to feeling broken and you don't know how you're going to come back to the game and things like that, yeah, exactly. Valexian, yeah. If you feel like you can't come back, then yeah, maybe it's time for a break, because at the end of the day, this game is supposed to be fun, you know? It's most of the people I do play with and the players that I do play with are usually in their early to mid 20s and above. So all of them, you know, they might be in various different stages of lives, but we're all essentially grown-ups. So, you know, it is one thing that I have never understood, and I do advocate for the no D&D is better than bad D&D for you. I never say bad D&D, because in a lot of cases, it's not the fact that the D&D was bad, it's just it wasn't the game for you. And it's okay to admit that not every game is a game that you would want to play. That is a-okay. It is also okay for a DM to turn around and go, hey, like, you're a really nice person, but I just don't think this is the game for you. Because, yeah, this concept that you should be able to walk up to any table and play, it's unrealistic, because everyone DMs differently. And I know that, for example, with me setting up this game, as I said, some of my particular rule sets are, for example, that I still have ability score modifiers for all of my species, because I believe in different regionalities, and obviously they're all different scientific species. You know, an elf is not a human is not an orc or a goblin, or, you know, they are all different. And it is okay for a species to have an average of something. You know, I very much play into the fact that it is okay for my games to have adversity for you to fight against, to overcome. Because let's point out, the simple truth is, which a lot of people do realize, which is, if most of our characters were happy, sane people, they wouldn't be adventurers. That's the truth of it. Usually, and excuse me for that, but usually, most D&D players, the stories we write, they've lost someone. They've missed someone. Oh yeah, it is one of the reasons why, as much as I love Ori and the Ori games, and they are beautiful and I love the story, but I get so frustrated that I rage quit, because I'm not the best gamer in the world. And when it comes to the learning curve on it, it's for me personally, it's really steep, and I just can't. It doesn't matter how many times I play through it. It doesn't matter how many times I try it. But if I'm sitting here trialing something for the 40th, 50th, 60th time, I'm not the kind of person that I get that sense of like, yeah, I beat it. No, I feel like it was, in the end, I feel like it wasn't worth it. I also have a similar rule set, as I said, like even if it's 5 minutes before a game, let me know. I also have the rule set that turning around and going, I just don't feel like it today, that is a legitimate reason. You shouldn't force yourself to do something that's supposed to be for your entertainment, for your enjoyment. It's not an obligation. It's a game. And so because of that, we do have this very strong, heavily held opinion within my group of friends and players that it is a game. If you have a family event, if you have a sick child, if you yourself are sick and you are really just not feeling well, don't force yourself to play. It's a game. It's not that serious, you know? And trust me, I have had that reiterated to me several times over the last 6 years. Because, yeah, just because you want to see what's going to happen, the best thing you can do for yourself is sometimes just sleep. Also, just a reminder, have a drink of some water if you haven't, or whatever beverage you have with you. I mean, I'm not your parent, do what you want, but water is good for you. Oh, yeah. And also, Felixian, that's one of the things that has led me, even though a lot of my campaigns have run for like over a year and things like this, the thing that I end up getting most frustrated with is, yeah, the burnout is real. I've been in a very privileged place that over the last 6 years, I have almost consistently had a game every week, you know, over the course of the year. So out of 52 weeks out of the year, I will have more games than not. Usually I do take a break over, and it's usually a 2-month break over Christmas. So most of December and January, just because, you know, focus on Christmas parties and stuff. That doesn't mean that I don't run like one-shots and things like this occasionally. I do. It's more of a case of, you know, having that consistency of games. And because I run very role-play heavy games, sometimes it does feel like a slog. And obviously over the last 6 years prior to that, I hadn't run a lot of D&D games. I was completely new to the TTRPG circle, basically. 6 years ago, I'd never played before. I'd never looked into it. And just the concept of collaborative storytelling just really appealed to me. And I found myself in a place of my life where I had nothing but time. And so, yeah, I kind of threw myself into it. And there was a point there where I was running at one point, like, I think I was running like 5 games a week. And I will say most of my games are custom world. I haven't actually run a module ever, which that's not saying that modules are bad or anything like this. It's just I haven't run them before. But it just got to the point where it was just insane and I was throwing myself into it. But also learning that one of the biggest things that I learned was, you know, It is okay to not be prepared for every eventuality. It is okay not to know what to do next. Let your players guide you. Let your players be chaotic and just, improv. I mean, it is harder sometimes when you need a battle map or something like that, but you know what? It's part of the fun. We're telling a story together. Has it led me to occasionally regretted giving certain players access to certain abilities and things like this? Because I do allow a lot of custom stuff, and I've sponsored a lot of Kickstarters over my time of DMing, because I love seeing the creativity of what other people come up with and how it could factor into my world. And so there has been a lot of that, but it has also meant that, for example, I have let druid characters I custom made from a variety of sources, essentially a herbalism and alchemy guidebook for them, which did lead them to making C4 and blowing up a mine. But you know what? They created C4. I've never really understood the argument of, but if I give my players this, it'll be broken. Okay, yeah, but you create the world, you create the scenarios, you create... I don't understand, one, that mentality that, first of all, you are the DM. You create the world and everything in it. If your players want to go for the overpowered route, so be it. But it also means that the enemies they're going to face are likely also overpowered, and they can't be mad about that, yes, the reality is most D&D characters are above the average, obviously depending on, how you do your character creation. We do the standard 4d6d one for most of mine, unless they're specifically being designed to be like a potential god character eventually. In that case, I did allow 5d6d2. But I also don't understand this mentality of certain players too, of breaking or winning the game. Like, some of the biggest clashes that I've ended up having with players are players like this that, don't get mad at me because my character is so overpowered. The issue isn't the fact that your character is overpowered. The issue is when I counteract your character's power, you had a tantrum. As the DM, I want you to win. I want you to reach the end of my campaign. I want you to succeed. But legitimately, my job as the DM is to put those obstacles in your path. I don't want to destroy you, but, I do have to put situations in your path that are going to cause problems for your character. And sometimes, players seem to forget a lot that it is 100% okay to retreat from a fight. Like, obviously you don't want them to have to do that every time, because let's be honest, that would get really boring too. But it is okay to turn around and say, oh, that particular bad guy is a really big bad person. We might have to figure out a different way to do this. But yeah, no, it's particularly the way that I DM. I want my players to succeed. I don't turn around and tell them that they have to be like, they don't have to want to be heroes. That's okay if they don't. But they do need to at least have, they at least have to have a, they have to have a, oh God, now I can't think of it. They need to have a common goal, basically, with the rest of the party that makes it possible for them to succeed. Otherwise, why are you doing this? What is the point? Like, what are you attempting to achieve here? Because if you don't have a common goal, well, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I unfortunately, when it does come to schooling, I do understand that in some circumstances, it is very hard for some of the teachers. Obviously, unfortunately, most teachers do usually have the best interests of their students at heart and things like this. But they are also let down by the systems in which they have to teach. You know, and it is hard as well. It's such a learning curve. And not only that, it is one thing to teach the, like, for example, as you pointed out there, the taste map of the tongue and things like this. But the thing that isn't taken into consideration, at least from a taste perspective, is exposure to certain foods and things like this. If you have not been particularly exposed to, say, spicy food or different bitter foods or a lot of savory foods, or you have inherently been overexposed to sweet foods because, you know, they have, you know, pointed out that having, you know, an attraction to sweet foods is a preference, and it can be a learned preference. It can also be a genetic preference. You know, it's... So I have kids, and the principle I use with my kids is I don't care if they spit it out. Like, it is a-okay if they spit it out, as long as they're not gross when they spit it out. So, you know, there's a right and a wrong way to spit food out in a way that's not, you know, vile to everyone around you. But I don't care if my kids spit the food out. The point is they have to at least try it. And it's not just try it once and, oh, I don't like it. It's okay, well, you don't like it now, that's fine. We can try it again in 6 months and see if you like it then, because your taste buds change and evolve. And, you know, if you have the opportunity to try new things, because I understand as well that unfortunately a lot of people also don't get the opportunity to try new things. It is correct and it's not correct at the same time. There are certain areas of the tongue that are susceptible to picking up flavors faster, but it's not like, oh, well, this place specifically is bitter foods or this place specifically is salty foods. Not like that. But there are areas on the tongue that can pick up flavors faster. But some of that is also because of the way our brains are wired to certain flavors. So, for example, it is very common to pick up sweetness very quickly because we're very commonly used to that, even from like a really young age with milk and things like that. But it's, you know, other things not taking into example. It doesn't matter what part of your tongue picks up certain flavors first. If it's cold, it's going to pick it up slower. It's one of the reasons why if food is frozen, it is harder for people to tell if it's bad. Because cold kind of acts as flavour. I don't like this spread over here. But yes, you have a very good point though, that as well, that I understand the point of standardized teaching, but not everyone learns the same way as well. And I think it is very hard to take that concept into consideration as too. Also don't like this area down here.
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough.
Also, I'm kind of a bit of a believer as well that you can't, like, I understand the need as well for kids to learn specific things, but unfortunately, like, for anyone who has tried to do any kind of further education, you can't teach somebody who doesn't want to learn, you know? And I'm not just talking about food here, like, you know, people only want to learn what they're interested in, and the fact is there's a lot of stuff that we're not really interested in, but, you know, they're basic concepts in the world that we need to learn. Oh yeah, exactly. It's one of the reasons why I like world building, because it does lead to questions about questions about questions. Like, for example, I would have never looked into the hermetic principles of quantum mechanics, like, prior. Like, I would have had no reason to think about it, to look into it, until I'm like, okay, but are there, like, set principles? And so it led me to questioning stuff. I've always liked mythos and fantasy, and looking at how it has shaped the world, but also the similarities between a lot of mythologies around the world. Like, a really good classic example is almost every culture in the world has some form of dragon, and they don't, like, while they do look different, there's a lot of them that look similar or have similar elements. And it begs the question of, where did it come from? Helps if I spell plants right. So what about you guys? Where do you start your world building? I actually usually start mine with mythology, followed by, obviously, the world maps, just so I have a vague outline of where everything is going. But what about you guys? Where do you start your world building? Do you go the Dungeon Master's Handbook route of just starting with one town and expanding out, or do you start somewhere completely different? So once I've finished these world maps, the next thing that I will endeavour to do, and obviously... See, my brain jumps a lot too. Like, as I said, I've got squirrel brain. Like, I keep asking the questions. And it's one of the reasons why, like, I have a World Anvil page. But as I'm filling out the questions, my brain goes, you know, I all of a sudden have to create, you know, extra things to tag onto it, which then leads to more building. And, you know, it becomes this endeavor of, well, yeah, I'm writing and writing and writing and writing and writing, but I don't feel like I'm achieving anything. I will say this is one of the hardest parts to build, this part right here. Building these waterfalls in such a way that it looks natural and organic.
Hold tight, I've been right where you're standing. Just hold tight to me. The world tries to beat you and leave you lonely, but there's light you see. 'Cause now I know we are thinking, but it's thinking right, thinking throw our bones away. Call me by another name, but I'm a champion.
So these are the waterfalls that I put in. As you can probably see, I have a guide to go with. Well, it depends on the context. Who's going to see what you've written? If it's just for yourself, does it matter? But if you're writing it for others, then, yeah, no, that might, you know, that is a very interesting question then, isn't it? And for the most part, if it's for other people to consume, generally chronologically tends to be the preferred choice because it's easier to comprehend. Also, remember to save. I think as well that I like these slightly bigger ones on the pure proviso that actually you see a bit more of that water's edge. So water's edge is good. So these are going to be waterfalls. And then I go in and I do some dark shading as well on this. I'm really excited for some of the, like, the hardest part has been obviously giving my players a whole heap of playable species that they can play, knowing that some of my players are the most indecisive players in the world. And so therefore I've given them far too much choice. And so they're feeling a little overwhelmed in some aspects because now they want to play all the characters. The problem is they have to choose one. And for some of them, they've kind of akined it to trying to choose their favorite child. Okay, we'll get the last of these water masses in. Then I think we'll take a quick break. And then come back in for some shading of the water. Okay, and we are back. I hope you had a good little break. Got some water, got something to drink, a coffee wherever you are in the world. I don't know what time it is where you are, so a time appropriate beverage, a snack or breakfast or lunch or dinner, whatever suits where you are. It's also super, super important to, occasionally rest from sitting at a computer for long periods of time. Large patches like this are a little harder to shade. So yes, we are shading these waterfalls to hopefully give them a little bit of depth. So it looks like there's this tiered effect as these waterfalls come down. Then we'll come in with some mist as well to make it look like the waterfalls obviously are creating mist. if you are enjoying the music, by the way, because, I've been changing it up a little bit recently. I originally, when I first started streaming the map builds of this, I did have some lo-fi, and I'll go back to the lo-fi at some point. But just at the moment, I've just really been enjoying a bit more of the EDM, and I have been utilizing no copyright sounds on YouTube because they create some really wonderful EDM stuff. Which is great for streamers if you yourself would like to have some music, and you can find all the instructions on their YouTube channel on how you credit them and are able to use their music. And obviously I've been listening a little bit more to this kind of music as well, because it kind of puts me in a bit more in a vibe for the world that I'm building. Which begs me to question, how important to your world building processes is your music selection that you're listening to? That's a bit better. It was a little bit too bright. I wanted it to blend a little bit better. And essentially we just come in here and do more of the same. suppose the question then comes up is, if I was to make these maps available, what would, as, you know, if I was to make these maps available, and all my town maps as well, to, like, people who want to use them, basically, the question is, what exactly would you want to see? Would you want world lore? Would you want just the maps? Hello, Surtur the Gallowglass. How are you? Surtur. I apologize if I completely, absolutely fudge your name with my chronically nasally Australian accent. How are you this fine evening, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world, of course? Oh, that's so exciting! As a player or a DM? Oh, that's so cool though. I hope you had fun with it. It is always very emotional when you finish up a campaign. I hope your character managed to achieve a satisfying end of their journey. Tell me about your character. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a safe choice. Definitely a safe choice. And Eldritch Knight, absolutely nothing wrong with an Eldritch Knight.
Guess I didn't know it would end this way. One drink too much and I could see your face. Why did I let you go? How could I let you leave? Will I ever see you? And do you think of me? Love, let me go, 'cause I've been holding up for far too long. I've been fighting and keeping strong. Now you just gotta let me go. Time wash away every feeling that can cause me pain. All these memories I can't escape. Can you let them all wash away?
Ablana. That's a cool name.
Wash away, 'cause I don't wanna feel the pain. Love, just let me go, 'cause I don't wanna feel the pain of holding on and keeping strong. So now I'm moving on. I don't wanna feel the same, so love, just let me go.
I had better save again. Otherwise, who knows? Tide Runner might show up and start yelling at me again.
Is it okay if I'm to say I'm catching feelings?
I hope you had a lot of fun with your character. It's always exciting to hear about somebody's first campaign, and especially if they get to play it all the way through to the end.
To waste my time. To my surprise, that was her reply. Now we a vibe. It's been a while and such a ride, the stars align. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know. Now we're together, it's a different mode. We getting crazy in a different role. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know. Now we're together, it's a different mode. We getting crazy in a different role. We getting crazy in a different role. She loves the fact that I just let her know. We getting crazy in a different role. We getting crazy in a different role. She my do or die, my bona fide.
That's awesome.
My up when I'm down, she's always beside me. She makes me feel
That's
alive.
absolutely cool.
Her love for me is real and kind of suicide.
Warcast is always a good feat to take too.
She's such a rare type. She's far from
Standard human, variant human.
at least in my eyes. She said if I cross her, I'll be in the grave or under her type. But yeah, that's still my babe. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know. Now we're together, it's a different mode. We getting crazy in a different role. I love the fact I didn't let her go. She loves the fact that I just let her know. Now we're together, it's a different mode. We getting crazy in a different role. We getting crazy in a different role. She loves the fact that I just let her know. We getting crazy in a different role. We getting crazy in a different role. Getting crazy in a different role. We getting crazy in a different role.
You just walk right out the door. Don't wanna do this anymore. Now I'm lost without you.
Standard human.
You drive me crazy out my mind. How'd you do this every time? Now I'm lost.
Oh, see, that's nice. Her friends were important.
To be the one I talk
I do like it when characters, obviously, their own goals should be important, but I do like it when a party comes together so well that, you know, they care about each other's goals as characters. Yeah, exactly. There's no point ruling a kingdom alone if you're going to end up having everyone. Well, this is the problem when you rule as like that kind of power as well. Eventually, you're going to make a lot of enemies, and it's better to have friends at your side to help you with it than not.
You're so distant when you're home, always hanging by your phone. Do I even know you? And I get paranoid sometimes, 'cause I know that you ain't mine, and I'm lost without you. Used to be the one I talk to when I'm sad. Can't you see no tainted love is all we had? Our issues run so deep, now when I try to sleep I feel so bad.
So, what kind of things did your character have to overcome to the, like, who was the big bad? Tell me about it. Ah, yeah. That's cool. I like it when DMs like do that as well, though. I tend to, I tend to really enjoy like real world mythos and lore as well. So that's really cool that they tied that in for you. That's so cool. See, I do tend to really enjoy real world mythos and things like that. So looking into it and actually tying that in. So currently in my Tuesday game, we have a tiefling who tying in frost giants, storm giants, that kind of thing. He has found out that he is essentially Norer reborn kind of thing. Okay, that's a clever way to do it. Good way to also like buff your players, make them a bit stronger. I like it. I like it. So this part is the slightly tedious part of just shading everything. So this dark candy coloured nightmare that I'm currently producing is the Circle of Gluttony. Tide Runner. I was just saying before that I should say before you show up to yell at me. I knew you would show up to yell at me. It's almost like somehow me not saving summons you. Like some kind of work wizard. Work wizard, exactly. You can talk to Tyrant about their character that they're hoping to create. And we're listening to Surtur tell us they have just finished their first D&D campaign. Always an exciting principle, finishing a campaign. Yes, you did hear your name. Talking to Tide Runner about the character you're planning on creating. Tyrant wants to play a himbo. Can your character be a himbo?
Someone's waiting to be told. Act encompasses the blame. We watch the scenes we live unfold.
Yes, you are lurking. See, I'm really excited because I have just realized that tonight, because we've had some one or two people follow, like the Bandit King, we're only 20 followers away from 100 followers, which is insane to me. All the planners and organizers, DMs, world builders. It is exciting.
It's in the stories that we see.
We also discussed whether people would be interested in having these maps to play with, but the question is, what would they like to see if I was to do something like a Patreon, if I put up the maps and things like this? yeah, what else would they like to see? Because this is literally what I do. I create maps. I do the world maps, but then I eventually start working on the town maps and slowly chipping my way at them. I learned very quickly that the best way to do it, at least for me, was do it alphabetically, purely because most of the towns aren't near each other, so you get a little bit of geographical diversity as you create. Because otherwise, oh god, that then takes forever. That's exciting. Evil campaigns are fun. The biggest thing to remember is if your character is evil, try not to redeem them. If they are going to redeem themselves, they will redeem themselves. But it is the one thing we've learned by evil parties. Most people try to end up redeeming themselves. So I'm very excited for you.
Close your eyes.
Get out my list of names for the towns in Gluttony. So this is the Circle of Nimbus.
Close your eyes.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, that's exactly it. The hardest thing I've discovered is if people decide to go chaotic evil, it's very hard to play off somebody who's chaotic evil, just on the pure basis that you don't end up caring about the party. And for unless the whole point is you're going to betray the rest of the party, then that's a different story, but... Hello, Osmosis Jones. You can attempt to redeem them, I guess. I'm very, very excited because the latest thing that I have done in my campaign is I'm in the process of finishing up the playable species of every circle, of every redeeming smite, and then the next thing to work on will be classes. Yes, I got that. Yes, I'm very excited about the playable species because I've put a lot of work into them, and I am a little concerned that my players are going to get overwhelmed. I know some of them are, unlike Tide Runner, who has known from day one exactly the character species and class they were going to play. But of course, there is the most difficult part, that there is a lot of customization going on to make it fit and suit the world, basically. Yeah, it's actually funny you say that because I can't remember exactly who the philosopher was, but they basically said that once we reach a certain point of technology, it is just... technology is just magic. Thank you for the follow. It is wonderful to have you here following. Well, that's exactly. Your character is tying in with the your previous character from the campaign in the world. So it does mean that your character does have the wealth of background knowledge and things like that. You also want to create your alchemist boy. Yes. Welcome, Surtur, as the newest follower. It is wonderful to have you here. Yeah, well, there is that aspect that you will get to name drop. Will it help you? That is questionable, but we'll see what happens. That's kind of the way, isn't it? You just keep writing and writing and writing until eventually it just makes sense. Which is exactly how this world kind of ended up coming into being over 6 years of just keep writing. I'm intrigued to see, Tide Runner, exactly why your character is boarding the ship in the first place. I mean, unless it is literally just to prove to your parents that you can look after yourself and, you know, you're ready for your own adventure rather than hearing about your grandfathers all the time. True, true. What, because they thought you'd never actually leave? I mean, why would you? You're one of the golden child of the original families, so... I mean, I wonder how much you've been getting away with off of your great-grandfather's legacy, though. Put some more mountains in. Oof, ads. Yes, I apologize for the ads. I'm glad the ad is over for you. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what you guys come up with, to be honest. I mean, there is always the point that if you don't know what to play, and this is for Tyrant and Valcor and other characters who don't know what they want to do, it is legitimately okay to just have a look within the Feywild, because that's where we're starting. Yeah, if it's the one that he told me about this morning, it does sound pretty cool. Do I believe that you guys are going to be a potential huge bunch of Chaos Monkeys? Definitely. I will do so. I mean, there are times when you're less chaotic. Adamantine Hillside. This one here I feel like now needs, because it's a set of mountain ranges. I like to give my sets of mountain ranges like names. What should I name this? Let's have a look, shall we? Okay. I'm getting some ideas. Just doing a quick Google search. Okay, I think I got this. Okay. Hee. I like putting little in-jokes into things. But I wonder if the joke of this one will be figured out. We'll see. Okay. There's a little joke there. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I don't think anyone will figure it out because they won't look that deep into it, because that's usually what happens. It's certainly going to be eye-opening for some of the characters. So, how is everyone tonight anyway? For those who have joined recently, it's been a good night so far for you, or a good day, depending on where you are. I actually like that blue one. It just needs to be moved in a little bit. It's a bit better. So this candy colored wonderland is the last thing from comforting in this circle of hell. Now some trees. Oh, the wall vines are cool. Do a quick save just for Tide Runner. Next, we are working on gold. Or Giri Haksha, the circle of greed. Nice saturation. Hello, Tyrant Dungeon. Welcome. It's great to see you returning.
Yeah. MD, JPB. It's only right, baby. Yeah, why you mad? I got a bag, bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, Joe. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Go on, run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one, that one. Damn, it's gonna be a long night. Yeah. You know.
Hello, Zephyr. I literally just saved, so yes. Just great to have you here. I forgot to tell you, Hadri's, that I did actually find a couple of really interesting subclasses. A toy maker artificer and a circle of chocolate wizard. You know how magical chocolatiers go in my world, unfortunately. Perfectly innocent businessmen. Yeah? Wait, which part are you going? Wait, what about? You blank. Which part did you blank on? Sounds like okay. Yeah, no. Previous party, totally bailed up a magical chocolatier in his, he made treats which could help enhance things. I say that like it was really dubious, but no, his candies and his treats and stuff would give like good benefits and stuff like this. But the party was not exactly great with people. Yes, you did hear. School of Chocolatier Wizard. Chocolate Viagra. Yeah, it's not so much like that. It was more that they would get added benefits and things like this by eating it. You know, could be anything from it help them concentrate to all sorts. But I believe that Tide Runner's character turned into a bear. The gunslinger basically had a full bad trip, I guess. And was convinced that the chocolatier was trying to hit on him. And I'm like, and he was like, no, I'm married, man. Like, yeah, no, I'm married, you know. I'm very happy with my husband. I just make chocolates and cakes and sweets. Poor Vedetta and the LSD. True. That's what you get for licking miscellaneous mushrooms. I don't think you bought the tabs. I think you were given them as a free sample.
You know those words, they hurt me. You found out what made me angry, then use it to your ability. Now you're trying to avoid me. You're the big problem here, a bully to many for so many years. Now shut your mouth, close your ears. Never learned your lesson and nobody cares. That's what you're here for.
Yep. Yeah, but is that part of that is because, well, no, I thought your constitution was fine. It's just you roll bad. Cursed. Yeah, just a little bit. The paladin is a little bit cursed. The only person who is 100% decided what they're doing, Hadries, is James. Insofar as he is going a Simic hybrid alchemist, I believe.
Deeply as I sink, finally, someplace I found peace in the dark of night. Tabletops counters in the early hours, stone cold inside. Banging drop stanzas, never need.
I believe that Valcor may be thinking of a Raken, maybe. And I think Rosewood is potentially thinking, not sure on species yet, but most likely a Paragon. Either Paragon or Vengeance Paladin, don't know yet. Could end up with 2 Vengeance Paladins and it would be interesting. Could be very interesting. Don't know though. I'm just waiting to basically the applications are still open for anyone who would like to apply over on Roll20. The application is under Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition for Boomeadow, for State of Anarchy. So if you really want to do sad boy things. But yes, so if you are interested in applying, head on over there and have a look. I am always open to questions if you need to. I'm changing this one. Just because why not? It's a great name. Yeah, I don't know why. I could not help you with that. You'd need to have a look into that a bit deeper, I think. I obviously don't want your character to suffer. That would be terrible.
How heavy is that? Light work with the pace on the track, on my face to the back, like I'm taking a slap. I need a drink, but it's straight from the tap. And I'm hating the slack, couple man stand around like the hate in the gaff. Please stop talking that trash, cause the vibes in the front all the way to the back.
Yeah. For whatever reason, you guys like making your characters suffer.
a slap. I need a drink, but it's straight from the tap. And I'm hating the slack, couple man slung around like the hate in the gaff. Please stop talking that trash, cause the vibes in the front all the way to the back.
Well, it gives your character something to overcome, I suppose. There is nothing wrong with having a character who has to go through something to understand themselves. But as I have stated a number of times, let's be honest, most of us know it is also because D&D characters, as a general rule, on average, are not happy characters. They are deeply traumatized, trying to find themselves, trying to understand meaning. That's a pretty cool idea. Some would say that there is a little bit of a questionable situation there, Zephyr. Exactly. I feel false pretenses a little bit. Well, it's also the fact of, don't they have to do it of their own free will, i.e. they have to agree to it, not be tricked into it? But I don't know. I don't know how various DMs run demon packs and warlock packs and things like that. Oh, yeah, I can completely understand. Yeah, I can completely understand. It is still an interesting concept, though, and, you know, you'd really need to figure out the specifics as well. Hello, Shalakard. It is wonderful to have you here. Oh, yeah. It would also depend on her motivations of what she wants to achieve as well, I think. Getting there, getting there. I use we colloquially a lot. The game is going well. We end up, this is the last piece of the map of the hills that we're doing. And once this is done, we're going to be starting to work on town maps. But the actual official game application has gone up on Roll20 for people who would like to apply to play. The party will be between 5 and 6 players. So yeah, if anyone's interested, it is over on Roll20. I go by the same name over on Roll20 as Boomeadow over there. The game is called State of Anarchy. Hello, Evil One. How are you? So if anyone is interested in applying for the game, it's going to be 5 to 6 players. All of the information's over on Roll20. I go by Boomeadow over there as well. The game is called State of Anarchy, and yes, so it has all the explanations over there. The game isn't starting till February, and it will be streamed here on Saturday nights for anyone who is interested. It is pretty user-friendly to use, Shalakard. All you need is an account, and it is free. Most basic accounts on Roll20 are free. And yeah, you just kind of have a bit of a search, and you should be able to find it. Or if you really want to troll through the pages of D&D games, because you can basically you select a game style and you can find it through that. So yeah, and yeah, chat is popping off tonight, Zephyr. Very sad boy. That's great having you all here. Adding in all the crystals here. So this is Gary Hucksha. So the Circle of Greed. All I can say is, yeah, anyone can join the game. Well, I say that anyone can apply for the game. Basically, what I do is you put in an application, which there are some questions over there on the application that you just need to kind of answer to send in. And basically, thank you, Tyrant Dungeon. Yeah, so basically you can make an application, and if you are likely to be compatible, then I basically send back a message just asking for an interview. Because we do have a couple of established players in the game already, the interview will be with me and those established players, so you can see if you get along with them and everything like that. And then obviously the best players, I guess, that make up, that get along together, basically end up making up the party. And that's usually the way that I do most of my games. It's anyone can apply. It doesn't matter how much experience you've got. Even if you haven't really used Roll20 or anything like that, I do still, I am happy to help people with that as well, because once upon a time I was new to Roll20 and I didn't know what I was doing either. So yeah. But yeah, anyone can apply. The only thing to take into consideration is it will be a weekly game on Saturday nights, Australian time, which Roll20 will actually tell you on your on there what it would be in your time zone. So just pay attention to that as well, because if it's not compatible with your time zone, or because obviously the big thing here is, you know, I don't want anyone having to get up repeatedly a number of weeks a year at like 3 a.m. to play, unless they're like absolutely crazy or dedicated, or they really, really want to. We put a big emphasis on making sure that you are looking after yourself first and foremost. But yeah, if you think you can... Well, it doesn't... Shalakard, it doesn't start until February. So just keeping that in mind. Oh, well, thank you for joining us. I hope that you are having an okay night then, considering you just got off work. What, Tired Runner? I've barely done any. Not even Incarnate has told me I need to save yet. I know, Tyrant Dungeon. The problem is, if I made it a channel saving point, I'd have to make sure that the it was low enough that Tide Runner can use it constantly. Thank you, Shalakard. For everybody else, yeah, also remember to drink water or whatever beverage you are drinking right at this moment, because obviously it could be morning, it could be afternoon, it could be evening, wherever you are in the world. You have one request. What is your request? Not Zephyr asking through the channel. You should go to bed. On OBS, I don't actually use OBS. I use Streamlabs. And I haven't seen it since the update. Yes, the only thing I use OBS for is recording our Tuesday games. Make sure none are overlapping town names. Nope. I have had a problem with this with Streamlabs, where you might have to change the properties to monitor an output or something like that. I had a similar problem recently myself, which has led me to having to add multiple music channels and yada yada yada. Thank you, Zephyr. I hope you also redeem a stretch for yourself. Ugh. It's always important to remember to stretch, to drink water, especially when you're staring at a computer for hours on end. Okay. Don't like that one. Don't like that one. Don't like that one. try not to have anything on that line there because that's where I'm going to join it to the world map. And I go through and I put in a couple of... You were going to bed. Okay, well, we have reached time and I have not yet finished this map, but we are so close, which I think that means that we could probably get this finished on Monday morning. So, with that in mind then, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening or night wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming along for a chat, all of that kind of stuff. Thank you for all of the lovely new people that followed. It is wonderful to have you here as part of our community of world builders, dungeon masters, players, and just Dungeons and Dragons aficionados, newbies and old hats alike. It is wonderful to have you here, and I will keep praising you for everything you do for me and my community. If you want to have a look, there is a game over, as I said a little bit earlier, a game over on Roll20 that you can apply to if you would like. We're going to be having between 5 and 6 players, so there is still a few little things there. Thank you, Tyrant Dungeon, for putting it up again. If you have any questions, you can send them through to me over on Roll20. You can also message me on Twitter. My Twitter is Boomeadow. Or you can reach out to me on my YouTube channel of the same name, Boomeadow. That is exactly where you can catch all of these as a recap, because I do post them over there as well. So, again, I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening or night, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all again on Monday for more Boomeadow builds, in which hopefully we will get Nethraeg finished then. Have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you later. Bye.